Hello, my name is Ashley Spates with the Ashley Spates Realty Group, and I am back with another video. The purpose of today's video is to help those who are wanting to purchase a home in the next year or so, but don't really know where to start, how to start, what to expect. Well, this video is going to prepare you. Think of it as like a buyer readiness video to get you in the mindset of what it takes to purchase a home, how to get your finances in order to purchase a home, and also just what to expect along this home buying journey. Just a little backstory about myself. So I've been a realtor at this point for about 6 years. And I purchased my first home back in 2013. So at that time, I was just a first year teacher and I had been renting for about 4 years at that point. And all of a sudden, it just hit me out of nowhere. Like, I've paid so many deposits, I've paid all these months and years worth of rent, and I literally have nothing to show for it. So now that I had this job with a nice salary, I now just realized like it's time to start getting some equity. It's time to start doing something more long term. So I decided to start researching how to purchase my first home. So I was just asking like random people in my circle, like, okay, what kind of credit score do you need? How much is a monthly payment? Who do I talk to? How do I find a realtor? How do I find a loan officer? All of those things. So in this video, I'm going to explain all of that step by step. My mother was the very first person who I told that I was thinking about purchasing a home. And at that time, my mom was like, I think that's a really good idea, but I think that before you decide to purchase a home, because you've never taken on an expense like that by yourself before, I think that you should take a financial literacy class. And that was honestly the best class and the best decision that I decided to take, because it allowed for me to learn to track my finances, and it allowed for me to see where my money is going and how much money I actually could allot for a mortgage if I wanted to take that next step. So that leads me to my first point in this video. Point number one is get your finances in order. So before you talk to your realtor, before you talk to your loan officer, get an understanding of your own finances. Complete a budget tracker, because what you don't want to happen is you go to this loan officer, you get pre-approved for, let's say, $2,500 a month, and then you realize, I'm shopping for these homes at this $2,500 a month price point, and I really can't afford to pay $2,500 a month over a long-term basis. So the first thing you should do is get your finances in order, determine your budget so that you can determine how much money you can comfortably afford on your mortgage every month. One of the first questions that a loan officer is going to ask you is, how much do you want to spend a month on your mortgage? And if you respond with, I don't know, it's kind of like you as the buyer haven't done the prep work to determine like how much money you can afford. And what you don't want to do is start this journey in vain. So what I would suggest first and foremost is getting your finances in order to determine how much money you can set aside every month for your mortgage. So here's what I did when I started the process of purchasing my home. So what I did was, once I got my budget in order to determine how much money I can afford per month for my mortgage, this is what I did. I knew that I was currently paying $500 a month for my current rent. Again, I had roommates. I had 2 roommates, and we split everything 3 ways. And again, this was a long time ago. So at the time, this is like 10 years ago, I was paying $500 a month for rent. I had already determined that in my budget, I could allot for $1,200 a month to go towards my mortgage. So here's what this savings plan looked like for me. I paid my $500 for rent automatically. But then what I did is took $700 and I put it into a savings account, because I wanted to see if I could comfortably afford to live spending that $1,200 consistently every month before I decided to just jump in and purchase a home. And I wanted to do this for at least 5 to 6 months because I wanted to see, like, is this going to be a stretch for me? Am I going to be living literally paycheck to paycheck? Is it going to have me like mortgage broke where I feel like I can't do anything else? So I practiced, right? Also, what I did was I looked at the utility bills. So right now we were splitting them 3 ways. So what I did was I looked at the whole utility bill as if I would be taking it on by myself, different utility bills, gas, water, electricity, those types of things. And I saw what the totals were, and I had to make sure that I could comfortably afford that $1,200 a month for my mortgage, plus the increase in my utility bills that I would be spending by myself. And again, I did this method for about 5 to 6 months because I wanted to make sure that before I just jumped in and said I can afford $1,200 a month on a mortgage and I can afford these utilities, how would that affect me in my everyday living with all of the other expenses that I had? And I just wanted to make sure that it wasn't going to put me in a position where I was having buyer's remorse or I literally couldn't do anything else to enjoy myself. So that's my first practical suggestion for you is 1, get your finances in order and also run some practice months of this new budget so that you can see how comfortable you are with those numbers. Now that you have determined what your monthly budget is and what you feel comfortable spending every month, the next step, which is the first step in the home buying process, is to determine your buying power. You do that by completing a loan application with a loan officer. Now, some people, I have heard so many excuses, and some of them sound like this. I want to look at homes first, and then I'll do an application. I don't want my credit to take a hit. I know that I have perfect credit and I won't be denied. Or I know that I have a lot of credit and I'll be denied. The list goes on and on. However, the very first step in this process is getting that pre-approval. There is a correct order and procedure for everything. And the first step for the home buying process is getting that pre-approval. Yes, it is a hard inquiry on your credit. However, it's not going to be to the point where they do that inquiry and then now you're not qualified to purchase a home. If that one inquiry hurt you and made it to the point where you couldn't purchase a home anymore, then honestly, you probably weren't in the right financial situation to buy a home at this exact moment, which is okay. So what I suggest and what I tell everyone to do is go get your pre-approval. And the reason you want to get that pre-approval is because can you imagine going to look at 5 homes that are in the 700,000s and then come to find out you're only approved for 400,000, but you've fallen in love with this $700,000 home? So now what happens at that point is that you and your realtor did not make the best use of one another's time. So that's why it's important to have that pre-approval letter first, because that is going to be the driving force of your home search. You don't want to start your home journey in a negative way. So just imagine you've fallen in love with a home that was outside of your budget, that you were not pre-approved for. Then what often happens in my experience is that every home that you see after that, you just keep comparing to it. And you're like, that home had this and that home had that and this home. And you're kind of turning your face up at the homes that are actually in your budget because you started by looking at homes that were super extravagant or on the higher end that were not inside your budget. And you don't want to start your home journey in a negative way, because then it feels discouraging and it's not as exciting for you, because at that point you start to feel like I'm settling. And it's not that you're settling, it's just that you're purchasing what you can't afford. So I'm telling you, the first step in this journey that is really the driving force is to get that pre-approval letter. Now, some people don't know which loan officer they should go to or how to select one. Oftentimes, the realtor that you go to myself, I have a network of people that I work with that are all involved in this home buying journey. So your realtors have a network of people that they work with that they have done great work with. And I always suggest going with your realtor suggestions or one of their preferred partners because they know their work ethic. They know the type of experience and customer service that you're going to receive. So what happens sometimes is that people go with other lenders or loan officers that maybe were not one that their realtor suggested, which is totally fine. It's totally fine. However, it makes it harder if that person just does not do their job or they don't work as efficiently. And there's a lot of deadlines that are in the contract. And what we don't want to do is get a loan officer that is not great and they end up causing you to have a negative experience. But overall, the most important part that I want you to get out of this section is that you must get your pre-approval before you start your home search, because that determines your buying power. That lets us realtors know the types of homes and the budget of homes and the price range of homes that we should be sending you. So what I suggest, if you're not ready to get pre-approved right now, because again, this video is focusing on those who want to purchase in the next year, I would say get with a loan officer about 6 months before you purchase your home, because that's enough time for the loan officer to take a look at your whole credit profile. They can see if maybe there are some things you need to do to improve your credit. Maybe at this exact moment you're not approved, but at least you know 6 months in advance instead of 30 to 45 days when you have to be out of your apartment complex. So getting with that loan officer about 6 months in advance, it allows them to look at your credit profile, maybe tell you some things that you need to do to work on your credit, or even give you solutions on what you can do to improve your credit to possibly get a better interest rate. But again, I would suggest getting with the loan officer sooner rather than later so that you can also start mentally prepping and mentally preparing your mind to what type of home you can afford within your budget. Now that we have discussed getting your finances in order and creating your budget and also getting your pre-approval letter and speaking with the loan officer, one thing I want to talk to you about, something that you should expect from your realtor, is a buyer's consultation. So depending on your realtor's process, they may do this before you speak with your loan officer or they may do it after, but a buyer's consultation will happen. During this buyer's consultation, you and your realtor will get to know each other so much better. You guys will get to know each other very well. And in that time, during that buyer's consultation, that is when you as a buyer, you ask your realtor all of those burning questions that you still are confused about, anything that you've been wanting to know about the home buying process, any questions, comments, concerns. You bring that up during the buyer's consultation so that you can be clear about what to expect during your journey. If you have this buyer's consultation before you've spoken with the loan officer, your realtor, of course, will already be telling you the exact steps of what you can expect when purchasing a home, from getting the approval to closing on the home. And during that process, your realtor will be explaining to you that you're going to have to get an inspection completed, that an appraisal will get completed, different things, earnest money, all of those things will come up. And it's important that you are very, very honest with your realtor during that time because we want to set you up for success. So it's a common misconception that you don't have to pay any money when you're purchasing a home until you get to the closing table. And that is false. So when you're purchasing a home, there are instances, first of all, when you want to take a home off the market and your contract has been executed and accepted, then you're going to have to pay earnest money, which is 1% of the sales price. If you don't have that earnest money right now, then it may not be the appropriate time to start to look for homes. That may be something that you have to start looking at a little bit later. Another thing that may come up, that will come up during your buyer's consultation, is that you will need an inspection. And an inspection can cost, I'm going to say on average, about $500. Could be more depending on the square footage of your home. But if you don't have the money for the inspection or your earnest money, then again, at this exact moment might not be the right time. or it at least lets you know what the plan is or what you can do to plan to have these funds so you can set up the timeline with your realtor. Another thing that you all are going to discuss in your seller's consultation are just some different, maybe upfront closing costs that will be due, standard down payment amounts, standard closing cost amounts. Of course, that is more so for your loan officer, but it may come up during your consultation because we, as your realtor, we're going to work very closely with your loan officer as well. However, we both want to make sure you're set up for success. So that's why we have these very open conversations from the beginning, because we want to make sure that if we start to go out and we're looking for homes and we put in an offer, that you have the ability to take the next steps. This is so important because when I first started my real estate career, I did not ask these type of questions. I did not verify a lot of things. And so what happened was, one of my clients, they got their pre-approval letter. We put in an offer, but they didn't have enough money for their earnest money. They didn't have enough money for the inspection. They did not have enough money to pay for their appraisal. So at that point, we all went under contract, and it just was not a good situation for any of us because we had to terminate the contract because the buyers were not ready for the next steps. So that is why it's very important to have these conversations and to have this buyer's consultation so that you as a buyer can have an understanding of when things will be due, at what point throughout the contract they will be due, making sure you have the funds right now for some of the things that you need to have the funds right now for, and that you have the ability to access the funds later if you need to access funds later. So again, overall, the goal of that buyer's consultation is to explain the process to you as a buyer, but it's also for us to get an understanding of what you're looking for as a buyer. Like, what are your wants? What are your needs in a home? What are your non-negotiables? What area do you want to live in? What price point? Of course, we know price point once we've talked to a loan officer. But those are all the types of things that come up in buyer's consultations, which makes that meeting so important because it takes away the element of surprise later down the line because you already know what to expect. So again, that buyer's consultation is an opportunity for you and your realtor to get to know one another, understand the process, understand how one another works, and just to get to know one another and what to expect throughout this journey. Once you all have gotten to know each other a little more closely and your realtor has a thorough understanding of what you're looking for, what you're needing, what your non-negotiables are, then oftentimes the realtor will set you up on a home buying search portal so that those homes can start coming to you daily. And so whenever you see some that you like, you communicate with your realtor and you can set up a time to start going to view these properties. As a realtor and also as a homeowner, and someone who was previously in your shoes of preparing to purchase a home, here are some practical suggestions or things that I would want you to consider as you're putting your needs, wants, and non-negotiables list together of purchasing a home. Is there a particular school district that you want to be in? Do you need to live within a certain radius of family members? Do you need a one-story home because maybe you're taking care of an elderly parent? All of those are just some things that you can consider and that your realtor will also help you consider during your buyer's consultation. Now, I know that some of the terms that I have been using are some terms that are more so related to the actual home buying process, like once you're under contract or wanting to put in an offer. And some of those terms may have been a little confusing as I was explaining what to expect out of a buyer's consultation. So what you can do is look at my other YouTube videos. I have different videos that explain the step-by-step process of how to purchase a home, and all of those terms will make so much more sense. After you have had your buyer's consultation, you've gotten your pre-approval, you've set your budget. Now is the time where you and your realtor will really start to actively search and go view homes. And what that will look like is your realtor will send you homes probably on a search portal. You may be viewing homes outside of what she sends you, which is totally normal and totally okay. Now, in natural first-time home buyer form, what typically happens is buyers start to look at homes that are much higher than their pre-approval amount, and that's natural. However, once that starts to happen, you and your realtor will need to have a conversation just to come back together and get on the same page. Because depending on what the market is, it just depends on how much wiggle room you have to negotiate with the seller. And what I want to keep in the forefront of your minds is that as a buyer, it's your responsibility to shop within homes that are within your budget, within the pre-approval that has been established for you. It's not the seller's home to lower their home so significantly, $50,000, $60,000, so that it can become in your budget. You have to be a responsible shopper. Now, I'm not saying there are instances in which sellers, they may accept something lower, but it also depends on the market and the demand for that home. But again, it's your primary responsibility and your realtor's duty to keep us on target, staying focused, and shopping for homes that are within the budget that has been established for you. I hope that today's video was able to answer a lot of your questions as it relates to the home buying process and getting ready for the home buying process. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, please feel free to send me a message and reach out to me via the link below. And make sure you like and subscribe to get more information and videos like this. Talk to you soon.